All right, hey y'all, thank you for joining us for our Beef Brunch news update on Tuesday, October 26th. We're going to go ahead and let Vince kick it off with our update for Central and South Louisiana.
All right, guys, thank y'all for having me this week. And I mean, here we are waiting on some fall weather, and prediction of rain is going to be very welcome on Wednesday. Hopefully the weather doesn't get too severe, which they're predicting a slight risk for severe weather with possible tornadoes. So that's never welcome, but certainly the rain will be welcomed. In Central and South Louisiana, it's gotten pretty dry considering what we've been through all spring and summer. A large portion of the ryegrass has either been sowed in to the sod or prepared seed bed waiting on that rain. So hopefully we get that. With the cost of doing business in that department right now, it's be pretty vital that everybody get a good stand and maybe contingent on this rain. So hopefully that comes through. I think most of the hay guys are wrapping it up. Here we had those 40-degree nights last week or 10 days ago, over the last week or 10 days. A lot of the summer grasses, warm season grasses have taken on a yellow color, so quality is going way down. Not much hay being fed yet, but some in isolated areas with replacement females and bulls, and maybe some calves that are being backgrounded. That's about it. It's just waiting on this rain and some supplemental feeding going on. There's specialty things that, like I said, on some of those bulls and replacement animals that are being held in close quarters. So as far as ryegrass seed, it was short getting started with the planting season. Hearing of some people not even being able to get some people are not planting ryegrass. The jury's still out on how they're going to supplement their cattle for this fall and winter. We're hearing in the crop sector, in our part of the world, there's quite a bit of rice, sugarcane, and corn, which is contingent on high nitrogen use. That there might be quite a few acres going to soybeans that may not require so much fertilization as far as P&K is concerned. But I know what I bought for the weekend for planting my ryegrass is $725 a ton for some basic like a 9, 20, 30 just to get that seed out and get some early season fertilization going as that grass comes on. So it's quite costly. Some of these the tubs and some of these feed rations have gone up considerably from last year. So who knows where the end might be, and people are culling cattle pretty hard right now because the killing cows are have a pretty good market for them. So those that are not in production are making their way to town. Some calves have not gone to town yet because of the price has fallen the last 3 to 4 weeks, 5 weeks maybe, has softened. So it remains to be seen if we get an uptick in price. Hopefully we would, but I don't think we'll see that anytime soon. As far as insects, we talked about some pasture insects. Armyworms hadn't been a real big problem here lately, but what we've been seeing is the tropical sod webworm has emerged, which typically we see after a hurricane event, which we've had a couple of those this summer, but we didn't notice it until here recently. And where cows are grazing pastures pretty hard, we're seeing some stand loss even down to the soil. So we'll start to see some hay being fed, but we are pushing on November 1st. So with that being said, it's pretty mundane right now. The field work is caught up as far as hay production. Ryegrass is planted, as we mentioned, waiting on a rain. Little hay going out and waiting to see what the markets are going to do for some late spring born calves. Hopefully we get an uptick. And just want to remind producers, if you short a bull or need a bull, have your bulls tested. There's a number of bull sales going on across the 3-state area: Louisiana, Mississippi, and Texas into Oklahoma. Been getting notification in the mail and by email. There's quite a few things going on as the late fall and into early winter goes. There's quite a bit of production sales going on as far as bulls and replacement females. So with that being said, that's about all I have to mention for the central and south part of Louisiana. It's hot. It's 90 degrees here today.
Thank you. And I know it's stock show time because we're going from that 90 degrees into the state fair. And it's supposed to start raining in Shreveport on Wednesday with the storm that you just talked about. And it's going to get cold. So those of you that are coming to State Fair, be prepared to spend some nights in the 40s. And we all know how cold it gets in that barn. So Lee, I know you were over there working this morning, getting stuff set up. How does it look over the State Fair barn, and how do things look over in the Northwest region?
Well, thank you, Ashley. Very good to be with y'all today. Vince uses the phrase pretty hot and pretty dry down there. It's very dry in Northwest Louisiana. Um, I saw a graphic this morning on a local news station showing we're 4 to 6 inches, depending on the location, behind on rainfall going back to, I believe it's September 1. It has been an incredibly dry, dry a couple of months here, and another graphic they showed, October hadn't closed out, of course, yet, but it's on track to be one of the hottest Octobers on record out of Shreveport. The National Weather Service in Shreveport was putting that out. So it's been hot, it's been dry. We got a little brief respite, I guess, last week, maybe the week before last. Days running together a little bit, but got a little taste of fall before it's right back on us. It's been good for some folks. Said it the last couple of news updates. A little bit of late season hay getting put up, folks cleaning up pastures. I think probably, if I had to estimate, 75 to 80% of all hay that's been baled is done. That last cutting has pretty well been made. A lot of ryegrass up right now. We've got some at the Hill Farm station, got some about 125, 150 acres of drilled ryegrass that's up. It's ryegrass and cereal rye, and it's up and it's needing a rain sorely. It is powder dry in our part of the world, and we're supposed to get some rain on Wednesday. They're talking about maybe an inch. We sure hope for it. Not as much a severe weather risk up this way as it is down in central and moving on down into South Louisiana, and we want to avoid that no matter what. I know there was a pretty widespread outbreak. I think yesterday and last night on north of us, and so try to avoid that when possible if we can. But nothing we can do about it either. Just wait and see what happens. Um, Still not a lot of hay being fed. Kind of what Vince said. In spots, you got some people that are feeding just a little bit, and mainly to bulls and such, wean calves, maybe some replacement heifers. But I tell you, these summer grasses that have sure made a turn here in the last week or two around this part of the world. We went from some really, really good pastures to some pretty stressed pastures. You can tell that it's right around the doorstep. I talked to a producer this morning, in fact, that said they're trying to hold out on November 1. That would be a good time to start feeding and hay and supplement with a little bit of hay. But he's hoping to hold out till November 1. And then that's the way it is at my personal place too. We're just trying to hold out on November 1. There's some concern about the amount of hay on a lot of operations up our way. We didn't have quite the wet experience of what Vince and folks south of us did, but it was wet and didn't get quite the amount of hay put up that we maybe wanted to. When we're talking about winter supplementation, I'm just going to make a real quick plug that don't let yourself get too far behind on this, trying to stretch out and trying to make it another week without feeding hay when it's needed, or getting that supplement, either tubs or starting to supplement with a ration or whatever liquid feed, however it is that you supplement your cows. Don't get too far behind, because especially on fall calving system or on a set of heifers at calving, you get behind this early in the fall, and it can really take a lot to overcome that. Talk to a lot of producers that are struggling with the cost of inputs right now. The cost of fertilizer. You heard what Vince said about what he was paying on that, and on his fertilizer blend just to sow his ryegrass seeds, and it's everything. It's tractor parts. It's medicine, animal health supplies, on down to even the mundane. We ordered some gates, some steel farm gates, and they were, we saw 125% increase in price on these steel gates, and still don't have them in stock. It may take another month or two to get those rascals in stock. So it touches every facet of our lives, every facet of our operations. And I think I said this back in a news update, maybe last year, I don't know. Uh, been a little while ago, that in times like this, when we have these kind of stagnant cattle prices and these high input prices, you have to pick and choose your battles. You can't cut everything. You have to really sit down and plan forward and decide what is really important and what you can cut on, because some things you can cut back on a little bit, while others it's so crucial that you maintain your soil fertility and of course your herd health. Uh, so just be mindful of that. When you're making cuts, be mindful what you're making cuts of. We finished up last week with an AI class at Dean Lee Station, and Vince and Ashley were part of that, along with several others. And since the last time we talked, we had our cattle pregnancy determination clinics there at the Hill Farm. It's really a good opportunity to meet producers and to visit with folks. Those of us in extension, we like to talk. If you're listening to this news update, that's not any revelation to you that we like to run our mouths. But it's really good to talk to producers, learn about their operations, as well as providing them with an educational opportunity. If you're ever interested in AI or in cattle pregnancy determination, let us know. We can point you. We don't have these things every month, I would say, but we have them regularly enough, and we can try to get you in on one of these learning opportunities. Look forward to State Fair. Look forward to cooler weather. Most of all, look forward to rain. I'm going to turn it back over to you, Ash.
Thank you. And I'm going to just tag on to a couple things that Lee said. So going into the classes and things that we have, as he said, if you're interested in that, let us know. I know particularly on the two classes that he just mentioned, the pregnancy determination and the AI, we only have a certain number of spots because we only have a certain number of cows and a certain number of stanchions or chutes. And so if you're interested in that, don't wait until we advertise it again. Go ahead and send us an email. We keep a list of people that are interested in our programs. And so, even though it might be the spring before we have the next AI class, we can still go ahead and reach out to you ahead of time and let you know when we think those are coming. And then the second thing is, you mentioned, you have to pick your battles and what you're going to cut on and everything else. And if you need help with that, I know we say this all the time, but if you need help with trying to figure out, I guess where to cut and what to pick and what to choose, and what's best for your operation, just reach out to us and we'll help you with that. And so we keep talking about hay, and Jason's actually sitting out in a hay field. I know you can't see him, he doesn't have a camera, but he's called in. So Jason, it's good to have you back with us for our news update, and I'll go ahead and turn it over to you for everything in our Northeast region.
All right, thank you, ma'am. And I will ditto with the hot and the dry. I think you could fill up a 5-gallon bucket with dust off of my tailgate and my bumper right now, just traveling around today, trying to do a little bit of catch up. But it definitely is good to be back with y'all. We'll move right into the markets this afternoon. October USDA cattle on feed report came out this past Friday, October the 22nd. Showed that feedlot placements in September were 97.1% of last year, and marketings were 96.9% of 1 year ago. The placement total was lower than expected, while the marketings were just slightly lower than expected. The on-feed inventory on October 1st was 11.55 million head, which is 1.4% lower year over year. So we got a bullish market, and as we would expect, so we're recording this on Monday. So if you follow the futures a little bit, you would see that the futures did open a little bit higher this morning just because we did get a bullish cattle on feed report. The slaughter volume this week increased to 661,000 head, one of the largest in many weeks. The number exceeded both last week by 15,000 head and last year by about the same amount. The daily and weekly slaughter volumes will be closely watched in the beef trade. This holiday demand will be increasing in the coming weeks, and the ability of the beef plants to respond will be key to satisfying that beef demand that we're currently seeing from the consumer side. And I would just add a caveat to that. It's going to be interesting to see how consumers continue to respond to these high beef prices. If you have not gone to the grocery store lately and purchased beef, you may not know what that means if you're producing your own beef and slaughtering your own beef. But go by and peruse by the beef shelf at the grocery store sometime. It's going to be interesting to see how consumers continue to react to these high beef prices. The choice box beef cutout value did close the week at $280.70 a hundred. $280.70 a hundred. I'll spit that out in a minute. With a choice select spread of $18.70. On Wednesday in the Texas Panhandle, negotiated cash trading was slow with moderate demand, with live purchases trading from 123 to 124, mostly steady at about 124. So that was in the Texas Panhandle. In Kansas, Nebraska, and the Western Corn Belt. On Wednesday, negotiated cash trading was slow with moderate demand. On Thursday, negotiated cash trading was limited with light to moderate demand. In Kansas for the week, live purchases traded mostly steady at 124 with a few up to 125. In Nebraska for the week, live purchases traded steady to $1 higher, mostly from 124 to 125, with a few as high as 126.50. So if we look at it on an average out the week in the 5-area feeding region, Fed steer negotiated cash price was 121 to 128 on a confirmed 78,746,000 head. That is down 17,000 head from the previous week. Futures ended the week higher than October 18th open, with December trading down $1.22 at 128.32. February down $1.27 at 133.50, and April down $1.10 at 136.55. 500 to 600 pound steers, medium and large ones and twos, sold from 149 to 159, which is about $5 lower to $7 higher than the previous week. Again, I'd remind everybody that those averages, I follow Mississippi and Oklahoma. So that's the two closest USDA reports that we can get our hands on. So those averages are looking between Mississippi and Oklahoma. 700 to 800 pound feeder steers, medium and large ones and twos, sold from 124 to 133, which is $8 to $14 lower than the previous week. On that same class of cattle, futures ended the week with November trading down $2.17 at 156.90. January down $2.67 at 157.32, and March down $2.62 at 158.30. And I would remind you that on those feeders and on those fats, if I cheat a little bit and look at Monday, I know we're recording this on Monday, but if I cheat a little bit, then that board did open slightly better today with that bullish cattle on feed report. Lean cull cows averaged about 51 cents. So if you look at that spread, those really high yielding cows, you've heard Vince talk about that before, those high yielding cows still bringing about 60 cents. But if we look at those, just those lean average yields, about 51 cents, which is steady compared to the previous week. Looking at our commodities, our feedstuff commodities, soybean meal is up $9.60 a ton at $347.60. Soybean hulls are up $5 at $155 a ton. Cottonseed meal is down $5 at $295 a ton. Whole cottonseed saw the biggest drops that I've seen in a while this week. So they are down $60 a ton at $265 a ton. We had no report this week on rice bran. Corn gluten feed, that's the 60% product, is steady at $605 a ton. DDGs are down $4.50 at $185 a ton, and corn is up 15 cents a bushel at $5.36 a bushel. And just to finish up real quick, so I would just ditto everything that Vince and that Leah said. I think we're I think the best word that was used was kind of in a mundane type cycle right now. Not a whole lot of movement, but we definitely need some rain on this ryegrass. And there's a lot of it that's got its head poked up right now, and it is struggling for a little moisture. So like everybody else, we are looking forward to that, and hopefully we'll get some much needed towards the middle end of this week. Thank you, Ashley.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So just a couple of things in terms of events that we've had. We talked about the AI class and pregnancy determination. I also ventured a little further south than what my normal job duties are and went to the Acadiana Field Day just south of Lafayette on Saturday. We had great weather for that. I mean, we need the rain, but it was nice since we were on hay bales in the back of the trailer to be able to have that field day nice and sunny there. So Andrew and Stan and Dr. Scaglia and Blair, they all put on a great field day there. It was really nice. Kind of looking towards, I guess, the end of the year, really the only in-person thing I believe that we have would be Dr. Scaglia is coordinating a grass-fed beef workshop. We've advertised that online, and I'll put some more information for you in that. That is going to be Thursday, November 11th. It's a free event. Talks about production and marketing of grass-fed beef. There's producer panel, a lot of good topics there. So I'll put some of that information in the video and podcast descriptions. We're wrapping up our first, this first class of the Advanced Master Cattlemen. I had to think about that because COVID's kind of prolonged it. But the registration is still open for next year's Advanced Master Cattlemen. So I keep putting that information out there. Registration is open. Again, you do have to have completed Master Cattlemen to register for that, but we have that information out as well. And then we have 2 webinars left for our Beef Brunch series this year. So on Tuesday, November 9th, Dr. Scaglia and I are both discussing bull management. So you'll get a little bit of nutrition, repro, and overall management there. So bull management for our cow-calf, commercial cow-calf people. And then in December, on December 14th, we have Dr. Hay coming in and talking selecting beef bulls for terminal crossbreeding programs. So all of that's on our Beef Brunch website, lsuagcenter.com /beef brunch. And then we've just mentioned, supplementation and things like that. So back in September, Andrew Granger came in and talked about some supplementation alternatives and things that you can do there. And then I'm still working on the edits for Dr. Scaglia's webinar discussing planning of grazing your winter annuals. And so I hope to have that webinar posted on YouTube and on our website within the next week. So just be on the lookout for that. And I believe that's going to wrap us up for this news update. Again, I know we'll be seeing a lot of you at State Fair. We've got our fingers crossed and prayers said for a little bit of rain coming up. And those of you that are coming to State Fair, just bring your rain jacket and bring your coat, and we will see you all there. And we will be back in 2 weeks for another news update. Thanks, y'all.